I'll now call this meeting to order and ask for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please?
Roll call acknowledged.
No, I'd like you to make a roll call of the commissioners.
Commissioner Donahue? Aye. Commissioner Monzo? Commissioner McKelvey-Day? Here. Commissioner Ramos? Commissioner Purnell?
Here.
Vice Chair Meeks?
Here. Thank you. Give your other commissioner a moment to be seated. I'd like to make the commission and the public aware that Commissioner Monzo is only available until 5 p.m. We will attempt to have this public hearing concluded by that time. In the event the commission does not have a quorum when she leaves, no action can be taken by the commission. Okay, welcome staff. Introductions, please.
Denise Ledesma, Administrative Aide.
Cassandra Orozco, Administrative Analysis.
Tom Wiles, Senior Planner.
Chris Callahan, City Attorney.
Lisa Brinton, Community Development Director.
Courtney Grossman, Planning Manager.
Thank you. I'll open for public comments. Are there any comments from the public regarding items not on today's agenda? I see none. Okay. Consent. Item 24-144, approval of the minutes of March 26, 2024. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners? Mr. Donahue?
No questions.
Commissioner Monzo?
No questions.
Commissioner McKelvey-Day?
No questions.
Commissioner, where are you? Ramos? Oh, you're not, oh, Commissioner Parnell, sorry.
No questions.
Okay, and I have no questions. Could we have a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes from March 6th.
I'll second.
Okay, with the motion, and who?
Me.
Okay, Commissioner Parnell made a motion to approve. Commissioner McKelvey-Day seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Donahue?
Aye.
Commissioner Monzo?
Aye.
Commissioner McKelvey-Day? Aye. Commissioner Ramos? Commissioner Purnell? Vice Chair Meeks?
Yes, thank you. Consideration public hearings. One more time before we get into this, I'd like to make the commission and the public aware that Commissioner Monzo is only available until 5 p.m. We will attempt to have this public hearing concluded by that time. I'd also like to make the commission and the public aware that this afternoon, the commission will only be considering the conditional use permit CUP 2022-048 and will not be considering or taking action on the commercial cannabis permit CCP 2023-007. The city staff has some concerns with regard to the commercial cannabis permit application, and the review process will need to be resolved those issues before any action can be taken on the commercial cannabis permit. The applicant has been made aware of the commercial cannabis permit will not be considered this afternoon. Okay. ID 24-138, commercial use permit 2022-048 for the subject site of 1228 South Main Street in the commercial retail South Main Street Focus Group Growth Overlay District, CR FG3 Zoning District. Senior Planner Tom Wiles will present PowerPoint.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Meeks. Commissioners, the proposal is conditional use permit 2022-048, which is for a subject site located at 1228 South Main Street in the commercial retail South Main Street Focus Growth Overlay District. The proposal. Project site is stated at 1228 South Main Street on the west side of South Main Street. It is CRF, Commercial Retail, Focused Growth Overlay, South Main Street, Focused Growth Overlay Zoning District. The application that we consider today is Conditional Use Permit 2022-048. The proposal is for change from a single retail space to a two-unit shopping center. It was an existing building of 20,162 square feet. It is the front portion is 9,413 square feet. The rear portion is 10,749 square feet, which is Unit B, and that was where the related conditional commercial cannabis permit was proposed, or is proposed, I should say. The proposal for the CUP is primarily for a parking reduction. It's requesting a 41 space, 51% parking reduction, 81 spaces are required, and they are only able to provide 40 spaces. The application also includes alternative means of compliance for landscaping. They need more landscaping in the parking lot area, and they are instead requesting for enhanced landscaping along the South Main Street frontage. The applicant is Canna Cruz Incorporated. The property owners are Samuel and Marguerite Kobrinsky, trustees, property owner. Stated the site is former furniture store use. It's on a 1.02 acre site. As stated before, it's in the CRFG3 zoning district. The commercial and residential uses are surrounding the subject site. The conditional use permit 2022-048 is required for the commercial cannabis permit 2023-07 because of the proposed parking reduction, and the Planning Commission, as per the zoning code, needs to approve any parking reduction at request over 30%, and they're requesting 51%. The main reason why one of the reasons, I should say, for discussion of conditional use permit 2022-048 is because a decision for the Permit Streamlining Act is required on the CUP by April the 16th, 2024. There is no Permit Streamlining Act requirement for the related commercial cannabis permit 2023-07, and as also stated, there are some outstanding issues with the CCP 2023-07, which will need to be addressed. It also should be stated that as part of it, that staff has provided draft approval and denial Planning Commission resolutions, a draft CUP approval document, letters to the Commission with information about the proposed operation from the applicant, renderings from the applicant, and additional public comment letters and postcards received after the packet preparation last Friday. And as stated, the commercial cannabis permit 2023 will be continued to a later date for consideration. Project plans show more detail on here. This is existing site, the single area, single tenant space, and this is shows it with the proposed commercial cannabis permit business, and also this would be retail on the site. Unit A is the approximately 9,400 square feet site, and 10,740 for Unit B. Project plans also include shows the elevations. Primarily would remain the same. There is parking, fencing, and along landscaping, proposed enhanced landscaping in the back, but does not comply with the zoning code requirements, such as one tree for every 5 spaces. So the alternative means of compliance would be for enhanced landscaping along the South Main Street frontage, which the staff is recommending approval of the alternative means of compliance for landscaping. Analysis of the site is stated that the 41 space, 51% parking reduction, 81 spaces are required, 40 are provided. As per a parking demand study, that the proposed use of the site, both the retail use, the furniture store retail use, and the cannabis use would be under the 40 spaces that are provided, and therefore that as per survey, the proposed parking reduction could be is recommended for approval by staff. The zoning code spaces, as said, zoning code section is that at least 8 spaces Monday through Friday. Monday through Saturday, especially reduces from 20 spaces to 12 spaces, which helps to support the proposed parking reduction, which is the main reason, or in fact, the primary reason for the conditional use permit. As stated before, the landscape alternative means of compliance enhanced on the South Main Street frontage landscaping. On-site landscaping exceeds the minimum required 10% for lot area, 5% for parking lot area. I think it's 14% and 6%. The recycling and solid waste enclosure is located in the rear of the building, and that's actually going into, would be in this area here. It's enclosed, and so therefore, staff recommends approval of that. There's also proposed solid fence along the south and west property lines, and there's an existing fence which will be maintained along the north property line. Also, the applicant intends to continue to have the existing freestanding sign along South Main Street to remain as is, and to help serve the proposed shopping center use. To approve the conditional use permit, the Planning Commission will have to establish the following findings as per the zoning code, and that is that the proposed proposed location of the use and structure is in accordance with the objectives of the Salinas General Plan, the zoning code, and the purposes of the district, the CR-FG3 district, which the site is located, that the use and structure will comply with the provisions of the Salinas zoning code, including specific conditions required for the proposed use and structure, and the proposed location of the conditional use and the proposed conditions under which it will be operated or maintained are consistent with Salinas general plan and will not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare of persons residing or working in or adjacent to the neighborhood of such use, nor detrimental to properties or improvements in the vicinity or the general welfare of the city of Salinas. As stated earlier, staff has provided draft PC resolutions for either approval or denial for commission consideration. Depending on the project's compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, if the Planning Commission seeks to approve the conditional use permit, it would be exempted per Section 15332 infill development projects. If the Planning Commission recommends or denies, I should say, because this would be final determination unless appealed to the City Council, it would be under statutory Section 15270, which are projects which are denied. The public notice was posted and mailed on March the 7th and published in the Monterey Herald on March the 9th. Was there any questions of staff at this time?
Okay, are there any questions Are there any questions from the commissioners to Mr. Wiles regarding this presentation? Commissioner Donahue?
Still thinking.
Commissioner Monzo?
Apologize for my tardiness. I think I'm trying to get clarity on, because I know we're not looking at the second CUP, and so I'm trying to get clarity on the decisions we're trying to make today. And so it sounds like for now, the decision we have to make is whether or not this space can be divided in two and used for certain purposes and have a reduction in parking. Like that, it's simplified.
Yeah.
That's the decision today.
For the conditional use permit.
Right, for the conditional use permit. Okay, thank you. And so my follow-up question to that is, depending whether or not the facility is used for its intended purposes for the second CUP, which is a 2023-007. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold and I'm about to cough, but I'm going to hold on to it. If it's not used for that purpose, because I know that one of the reasons why the parking reduction made sense was because of the purpose and the use and there was not as much need for the parking. And so my question is depending on whether or not the facility is used for that purpose, will that have an impact on future tenants and their function in that space?
Well, the second, there's actually the CUP and then the commercial cannabis permit. The justification was used for commercial cannabis. However, the draft CUP does not allow for commercial cannabis unless they obtain a commercial cannabis permit as per the Salinas Municipal Code. And so, the justification would be, if it was to be approved, it would get the parking reduction, but the CCP, the commercial cannabis permit, may not be allowed in a future action. So they would have the CUP, but with the parking reduction, but the CCP is not automatically approved.
Okay. Through the chair, may I clarify what I believe Commissioner Monzo's question? So her question, and please correct me if I get this wrong, is understanding how the current parking reduction that's being considered would interface with a different use. So what happens if we approve a shopping center with a parking reduction and instead of the cannabis use that is being considered under the CUP, a different use goes in? How does that parking reduction impact or determine who can go into that space if it is another use?
Yeah.
Much better stated than me, but yes, that was my question.
Well, they would probably have to provide an amendment to the CUP to justify the conditional use permit, because it does use the cannabis use and other adjacent cannabis uses, and so they would probably have to do an amendment to justify it, and it may have to come and depending on the scope of the parking reduction, it may have to come back to the Planning Commission.
So then essentially there could be another business that could have a similar justification that could use a parking reduction, or otherwise they wouldn't be able to use that space under that CUP.
Well, they would probably, if it's a different use with a different parking demand, they would, that use, since the use is not a commercial cannabis use, which we use the justification for, they may have to come in with a new justification for parking reduction.
May I tack on a little bit with that? A potential scenario, for instance, the CUP gets approved today. It doesn't get appealed. So the CUP gets recorded. It's valid for 1 year on the property. If nothing happens during that 1 year, it automatically expires. If the property owner would request or should request a different tenant, then, as Tom alluded to, an amendment could be processed, or the CUP could be what we call more or less expunged from the record through a process, and then it's back to a furniture store. So those are kind of, a few scenarios that could occur. But yes, the CUP would be valid for 1 year. Changes could happen, or the CUP could just be removed altogether from the record. Status quo, essentially.
Okay, those are all my questions.
Okay. Commissioner McKelvey-Day?
That was my question, so I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Commissioner Purnell?
No questions yet.
And I have no questions. Okay, I'm going to open this up to public comment in just a moment, but I need to read this one more time. Given that we have a commissioner who cannot participate past 5 o'clock, and there has been a lot of interest in this item, we will limit the public comment to 2 minutes per person and may reduce that further given the number of speakers and the time. If the applicant has requested an opportunity to present their project at the beginning of the public comment, the applicant will have 4 minutes to do so at the start of public comment. Ready. The applicant?
Yes. How's the council doing today?
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Peter Brazil. I'm an attorney for JRG Attorneys, the attorneys for applicant Canna Cruz, and the owners Grant Palmer and Brad Palmer. From From the start, I'd like to clarify one thing. The business for the proposed project at the 1228 South Main Street, which I'll refer to as the proposed location, is not a new business. Canacruz is an existing business already located in South Salinas over here, roughly about a mile and a half from the proposed location. It's been in business for 5 years. Additionally, I want to make clear that Canacruz must move from their current location because the property was sold and the current owner wants to utilize that business. Also, I'd like to make a point that the proposed location was not selected at random by the applicants and was only selected for 3 reasons. It suits their needs, it was available for lease, and it satisfies many of the requirements that we need for the suitable use. Okay. Basically, bottom line, the proposed location was the only suitable property the applicant has been able to find and represents their last and best hope for them to preserve their business. Now let's get to the kind of the meat of this, the nature of this hearing. The Planning Commission, this Planning Commission hearing, and I believe Tom was pretty good at focusing on this, is not a referendum on cannabis. That was legalized years ago by an overwhelming majority in our city, specifically at 74%. The Planning Commission hearing, this one, is specifically being held to review and act on a conditional use permit, the CUP, for the proposed location because of a change in floor plan and design of the project building triggering an issue, and for no other reason. The cannabis use is not the subject of the CUP. The city of Salinas already allows cannabis use in the commercial retail zone without a CUP. The specific reason the CUP is required stems from the fact that the prior occupant, the furniture store, utilized the entire building itself. Our proposed project bifurcates the building into 2 units with 2 separate uses, retail uses. The back unit will be the one where the Canacruz is proposing to relocate and move to. The bifurcation causes the site to be designated as a shopping center for the use and purposes of the city's zoning classification and related parking matters. Literally, the smallest shopping center you can get, 2 uses.
Sir, I'm going to have to stop you there. There's a lot of people who are going to address the.
He gets 4 minutes.
I've got 4 minutes. I've timed this. I'll finish this at about 3:50, sorry.
Okay, I'll give you.
Okay, under the zoning code, different uses have different parking requirements, and this shopping center use classification has a particularly onerous one. Had the individual uses each been considered, the currently available parking would have been sufficient. You could see that in Table 2 of the parking study. In furtherance of these issues and pursuant to the Salinas zoning code, the applicant commissioned in close consideration or consultation and coordination with staff an extensive and expensive parking study. The parking study surveyed parking usages at similar dispensaries, and peak parking demand from the study was applied as an alternative to the other ratio that the city's shopping center designation carried. It's important to note that this relocation and proposed parking reduction was circulated through various departments, including the police department, and the police department had one thing to say about that. They quote, "The police department sees no issues with the parking relocation or the parking reduction of the dispensaries," end quote. It's our position that the CUP application and parking studies support the required findings necessary for the CUP under the city's general plan, zoning code, and specifically section 3750.370A. I would like to thank you for your time, and I will stay here if you have any other follow-up questions.
Thank you, sir. That's distracting. Any follow-up questions from the commissioners? No, didn't work. Excuse me? Okay.
Regarding that parking study, can you just clarify, was that study done when it was originally going to be using the full space or as the shopping center with the 2 different businesses operating?
Was done. Sorry. Trin, go ahead. I'm going to let Trin answer this one. She actually handled most of the papers on the parking study.
Hi, Trin Rederer, also with JRG. So the parking study was the city zoning code, and Courtney, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the city zoning code does not allow for the bifurcation of uses in the calculation of the parking ratio. So it does in some instances, but not in the commercial retail zone. So therefore, the cannabis parking rate that was derived from the parking study had to be applied to the entire building. And with that, if there is another use, because the parking is really more suitable for a furniture store use, which has a much lower parking requirement than most commercial retail uses, most commercial retail uses will need to seek a parking reduction. However, it would have to be a study of those types of businesses because our study was based on cannabis uses.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll proceed here, and I want to inform you once again, we're limited to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Pablo Romero, my local practicing family physician who is very much opposed to the idea of cradling a weed dispensary in the midst of doctors on duty, Star Pharmacy, and Clínica Sur del Valle de Salinas. We all have seen what happened in Oakland when these dispensaries become involved with gang violence, with shootings. Do we need to have guards there with Kevlar helmets and automatic weapons to defend each other? I think the city should know better. Please keep South Main safe the way that it is. Do whatever you have to do with the numbers, with the proposals, but please don't allow the spread of this weed stuff. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Banks, and I approve for the cannabis cruise. The reason for that, and I don't share this with a lot of people because I don't want people to know how sick I am. I have chronic 4-kidney failure. And if anybody knows about being a diabetic and anything about this, it's not a... I might look good on the outside, but on the inside, I'm paying 24/7. I don't take pain pills. I go to the hospital 10 times, and all they want to do is drug me up. If I was a dope fiend, I'd be a happy camper, trust me. But I'm not. I want to get better. And smoking weed, I'm 63 years old. I remember the days they only used to have 5 kinds. Smoking weed for me eases the pain that I go through every day. A lot of my friends don't know how sick I am. Well, they're going to find out today. So it just eases the pain that I go through. Nobody sees me at night. I do a lot of advocate for the homeless people, and I try to be strong. I don't like people seeing me when I'm down, okay? So I approve for another cannabis club, and I approve for these people. I went and seen the place. It's a nice place, and I approve of it. You know, I vote for them. So, like I said, for me, smoking weed, it just eases my pain that I go through every day. And if people don't know what chronic kidney failure is, look it up. You'll find out that it's basically. I'm dying. You know, I don't feel sorry for myself, and I don't want nobody to feel sorry for myself. I get up every day, no matter how I feel and how weak I am.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm here for a reason. God keeps me going, but I'm for them.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for listening to me.
Sir?
Esteemed council members, my name is Matthew Ancher. I've been a Salinas citizen for over a decade and a California citizen for even longer. When I first moved to the state, my first apartment was Monterey, and I had to drive a half hour for weed to Santa Cruz, and the traffic made it worse. And then when I moved to Salinas, we didn't have dispensaries at all, and I was here for those meetings, and I heard the arguments for and against them, and I was thinking, I wish people cared this much about potholes as they do about pot. Yeah, and I still see those potholes every time I walk outside my house. But I wish I could walk to Santa Cruz for a more reasonable distance. I had to walk 1.5 miles each way in the rain to get my weed when I needed a refill, and I wouldn't have done this if my car wasn't in the shop. So having Santa Cruz on South Main Street will not just be more convenient for me and others, like the individuals you have just heard, but also, I'm from North Carolina. You couldn't even get weed legally anywhere in the South when I moved here. But I believe not only will it benefit South Main, not just for convenience, but the increased number of jobs from it being larger and having more capacity to serve. And obviously, it's going to help the grocery stores and the restaurants. And don't tell me McDonald's got to billions and billions served without people with the munchies. Yeah, so I saw on the TV news, Salinas is the 7th most expensive place to live in this country. I think it's time to start turning this around, and we can start by letting Santa Cruz have its new location. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Brad Palmer. My brother Grant Palmer and I own this business together. And the people you see with us today, we are Canada Cruz. My career started as a firefighter before we started Canada Cruz over 16 years ago now. The change of direction for me came about as my brother and I developed alternative medicines for our father to take as he became very ill. He was allergic to some of his prescription medicines and was having severe side effects to others, which led to the shift into cannabis for our family. Our father has since passed, but our cannabis journey continues as we push to help our local communities. We currently operate locally here in Salinas as a retail dispensary and have additional locations in Moss Landing, Watsonville, and Santa Cruz. The Monterey Bay area is our home. Canada Cruz currently provides employment to over 95 local people in our community, and we generated nearly $5 million in tax revenue for the state and our local cities this past year. $707,000 of that tax revenue went directly to the city of Salinas. My brother and I wholeheartedly believe in what we are doing and will continue to be good operators within our community. We have worked closely with the planning department and members of the community throughout this moving process to address our location concerns. Through our open communication with the Salinas community, we have done the following to actively address these points. Move our project from South Main Street facing side of the building to the rear unit of this building, not visible from the public right-of-way. We decided to fence the parking area in the rear of the building to help mitigate any issues with parking for neighboring businesses. Further, we are going to keep the Main Street facing unit of furniture as a familiar and comforting business in this neighborhood. In addition, we will be refreshing the appearance of the building and adding some beautiful new landscaping to brighten the area of South Main Street. Thank you for your time here today and the work you've all put into this project. We'll be happy to answer any questions for you guys later.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Eloise Shim. I'm a Salinas resident, and I'm opposed to any kind of permit for having the cannabis dispensary, especially on South Main Street, which is a thoroughfare and an opening on Highway 68 from the Monterey Peninsula. It's a family-oriented neighborhood. I myself do shopping there. The last time, unfortunately, since I take the public transportation and I walked in front of the KFC, there was some a box, a kind of a box with a hypodermic needle there. So I firmly believe that if they put the cannabis dispensary there, you're going to have more of that kind of a problem in that neighborhood. It's a family-oriented neighborhood. There's a CVS, there's the grocery store. It's close to schools. It's within walking distance of schools. And also, it's not really safe in terms of traffic. If there's going to be a lot of people that potentially could be using the drug, and on that main thoroughfare, we already have traffic problems in Salinas. Not to mention that there is a substance abuse uptick in our community, especially with fentanyl. I'm sure every single one of you on this commission knows of somebody. If you yourself aren't challenged with substance abuse, you know somebody that is. Thank you.
Hi. Sorry if this is a little redundant, but I didn't check this out with my son. My name is Barbara Palmer, and my sons are Grant and Brad Palmer, who own Canada Cruz. And I would like you to know how they came to own Canada Cruz. Several years ago, their father, who was my husband, Bob Palmer, was an architect, became very ill. After 10 years, his doctor told me, "You're losing him." He was 6'1", weighed 110 pounds. I called Brad, who was a firefighter up in the Sierras, told him, called Grant, who worked in Los Angeles in computer animation, and their instant what they instantly told me, I want to come home and see Dad. They came home that weekend. And when that weekend we were outside on the deck, Grant gave Bob a little vial and said, Dad, 3 drops in your orange juice at night. You will sleep through the night. You will wake up hungry. Just eat as much as you want to eat. Eat whatever you want to eat. In 3 months, he gained 10 pounds. After the same 3 months, my sons called and said, we want to come and visit Dad and have another family meeting. That's when they told me they wanted to open up a Canna Cruz, a business. This was medical marijuana in 2009. And I said, oh no, are you sure you want to do this? And Bob looked at me and said, look at me, it works. They can help other people. So I gave him rules. And I told them nobody ever gets paid under the table. You use a payroll service to pay every employee. Number 2, rent is paid 2 days early because you want that rent received by the landlord on the day it's due. And all taxes are paid on time. 5 years after they opened Canna Cruz, their father passed away. And you heard, I just want you to please let them move to their store. It means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello. Hi. Before I start, I'd like to thank all of you for your time, patience, and understanding. My name is David Velasco. I'm here to voice my support for the relocation of Canna Cruz. I started 3 years ago today, and since then I've seen the community with Canna Cruz develop in a positive way. Throughout these years, neither our speed nor our customer service to our patients have faltered. The only issue we've had, which is why I'm speaking here today, is accessibility. I like to point out a large majority of our patients are in the senior age category. I don't like to say old, as I'm getting up there myself. And if the pandemic has taught us anything, it was that having big open spaces and nice airflow really helped contribute to keeping everyone safe and healthy. In relation to that, after speaking to many of our patients regarding the relocation, is that a lot of them actually live closer to the new location, and thus it would make it easier for them to travel, reducing the possibility of incident, leaving only benefits apparent. Many of our patients seek relief, comfort, and knowledge from us, and for many, it is their first interaction with cannabis. So it's only fair on our part that we do our best to provide them with a safe and sound location and experience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time and patience. My name is Kobe Butler. I have worked at the Canna Cruz dispensary here in Salinas for about 3 years, and I have been a Monterey Bay native my entire life. Over those 3 years, Brad and Grant have demonstrated themselves to be competent and safe business owners. They have been respectable and helped me as I pursued higher education at MPC. In that time, they have helped me to develop a career with which I support myself, my elderly mother, and my disabled sister. I highly encourage you to allow this move. As other members of the community have said, this move would allow us to expand, would allow us to grow closer to the community that we have already established a relationship with, and would allow us to operate a safer business all around. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jonathan Juarez. I'm here with Carlos, who's the program director at Sun Street Centers. Just a little forward background. When I was a child, I didn't have a choice whether I wanted to smoke weed or I did not want to smoke weed. It was just something my family did. You know, I can't believe this is even a debate when it's a 15-minute walk away from a high school. You're letting them get a choice. It was hard for us back in the days to get it. It was a challenge. You're making that challenge a lot easier for the youth of this community. I think that's something y'all really have to look at. It's not about a new dispensary in Salinas, California. It's about a new dispensary on South Main, 15 minutes walking away from a high school. That is the big question we have to ask ourselves. What are we doing to our youth? What message are we sending to our youth that we're going to allow a dispensary to be opened up in walking distance from lunchtime? You know, weed isn't that major of a thing by itself, but it's not about that. It's about what we do to our young minds at that age. When we're of age, yes, we have a choice, but when we're that age, we're impressionable. We have different things that are going on in our lives that we need to develop through. And if we start using addictive substances at that age, what is that going to do to our future lives? And for anybody that says marijuana is not addictive, then why does it need to be so dang strong? Why do we need 100 milligram cookies, 1,000 milligram cookies? Because the tolerance goes up and up and up. And I'll just end with this. There was 125,000 DUI cases in California alone last year. 32% of that, nearly a third of that, was because of legal drugs as well, combined with the alcoholism. That's what you're putting your youth at. You think the youth is not going to smoke weed and drive around? Just ask yourself that.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jorge. I work for Sun Street Centers. I've been working for the prevention department for a few years now. And I do want to start off by saying that we're not against the business at all. We're more concerned about the location where this business would like to move to. When Proposition 64 began and there were these conversations about starting to open these dispensaries in the city of Salinas, a lot of the things that were covered during those hearings were that they wanted these dispensaries to be in areas where they were not near schools, parks, churches, alcohol outlets, smoke shops. So the reason why is because of access. A few people have been mentioning it. I did go over the letters as well that were on the City of Salinas website pertaining to this meeting, and it seemed like there were a lot of property owners in that area as well that were concerned about the specific issue. I work specifically in the prevention department, so our goal is to work with schools to educate the community on the risk associated with substance use. There has been a local trend. We've been seeing it a lot, and we've been working with a lot of schools who have been contacting us to provide educational presentations to students regarding vaping and marijuana use. So with that being a concern, I do want to just state that it is an issue among youth already as it is. And bringing it back to how I mentioned, dispensaries are the idea of these dispensaries is for them to be out of reach of youth, and like somebody mentioned here, just 15 minutes away there's a high school, and within a half-a-mile radius we do have two, Notre Dame, Palma, we have Washington Middle School, we do have a park near there as well. We have the bowling alley in that area, and the shopping center right there is a family-friendly shopping center. So bringing it back to the access, and like I mentioned, we already have this issue as it is in the community. We're trying to work on educating the youth. So it's just something to think about when it comes to relocating this business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Abraham Guzman. I have fortunately been able to work for Canna Cruz for about a year now. I would like to say that their consistency with pride of quality is very amazing. The first location I worked at was the extreme and exact opposite of this one. And what I mean by that is everything is attention to detail, and nothing is lost effort. Nothing is a lack of quality, concern. There's always an urgency to this work, and we're not just hanging around and talking about smoking. This is a very intricate process. This is not as simple as growing strawberries and things like that. Other than that, I would like to say when I did get hired for this job, this was the only location that would hire me, amongst others that were not as reputable. I'm going to work for this company as long as I can, and yeah, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Daniel McKenzie. I've worked for Canna Cruz since April 1st, 2014, so 10 years. And when they opened their first store in Santa Cruz, it was a really bad place, lots of needles, lots of drugs. And every day we'd get up, before we opened, we'd go clean up the neighborhood, pick up needles, clean up trash, make the neighborhood good. They organize beach cleanups often. They've afforded me a career in the stabilization for me to get married in 4 weeks. expecting to be a father to my first child. I lost my brother to fentanyl a couple years ago, and they paid for the funeral and made sure all my bills were taken care of. While I was taking time away, they gave me the space to do that. And they really care. They have values. They care about their community. They want to make it better than how they found it. And I owe them a lot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grant Palmer. I'm one of the co-owners of Canna Cruz. We are a 100% family-owned and operated business. I am a local resident. Just to clarify a few things, this is not a new dispensary. We are an existing business that's been working for 2 years to move our current location, and we have to move or we'll be shut down. We do not sell fentanyl. We do not sell anything in a hypodermic needle. We do not sell to kids. The Salinas PD has direct live access to all our security cameras. We check every single person's ID without exception. If there ever is an incident, and there never has been one, our security camera footage is saved for 90 days. We also have a record of every single transaction we've ever made through the state track and trace system. We do not sell to kids. Drug dealers sell to kids. Drug dealers, when they sell cannabis, they can also offer them things like fentanyl. Having safe access for adults is a way to combat fentanyl. This is not a meeting about how far away things should be from schools. The police and the schools had their input when they developed the ordinance. It would be unfair to hold us to a different standard than what the law allows for. So please consider what the law actually says, and that we've already litigated how far this should be from schools, which is 1,000 feet. We are over 3,000 feet away from schools. So please support our local business and allow us to stay in Salinas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Sherman. I am together with my wife, we are the owners of Sherman's Apothecary Pharmacy, which is within about 100 yards of the proposed place. I would first like to say, as a medical professional, I find a definite use for CBD for certain types of marijuana. I don't have a problem with it. I'm here today because I'm worried about that this is just not the right place for a dispensary in our community. When you look at the area that we have, we've got 2 or 3 restaurants right there with a lot of families, people trying to enjoy a meal. I'll be honest, I'm not going to be unfair and say that I know that this will add a lot of smell and stuff to our area, but I am concerned about that for our store because we leave our doors open and welcome our people in. I service a lot of elderly people, and so I am concerned about that. One of the big things that I'm really concerned about is the potential for the traffic. As many of you know, you get around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the traffic in our area is horrendous. People coming south on South Main Street, either going home to the 68 corridor or trying to turn into Plaza and get into the Star Shopping Center. I've personally been witness to at least 8 to 10 accidents there, one of which I had to run across and try to help the poor gentleman that got hit on the bike and died. So it's just a very dangerous area at certain times of the day. I wish these people well, I really do. I would like to see them succeed. I just don't see that this particular spot is the best. Salinas is a big place. I think we could do a much better job and a better place for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Rose Clark. I'm a resident of Salinas. I was born here and a resident of Monterey Park District, right across the street from this, for the past 55 years at least. And I'm here, and I don't have a placard like everybody here, and my heart goes out to them. I'm here because of all the older people, believe it or not, older than me, that live in my neighborhood and wanted me to come and speak for them. They, as much as I am, are totally opposed for the location where they want to put this service. Not opposed to them having a business, but South Salinas, right there next to 3 high schools, Notre Dame, Palma, and Salinas High, whose kids live in Monterey Park area and walk through there every single day. This is not the environment I want for them. I have a little baby 3.5-year-old grandson that I want his future to be bright. In my neighborhood, I was a victim of a home invasion a few years ago. Did that leave me gun shy? You bet. I want us to feel comfortable. As it is, a lot of my neighbors in several of the streets, their cars have been broken into. Why do I bring this up? Because what is the easiest way to go out there and get some fast money? They accept a lot of cash there. Burglaries. Check and see how many burglaries have been in all of the other dispensaries. Also, it's very important to realize that it's addictive to a lot of people. To those that need it medically, please have them drive a little, but save our lives. So for them, for my kids, and for your kids, because a lot of you people live in my neighborhood, please, 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 let's find a better location where people don't die or are afraid to be in their home. Thank you so much for your time.
Sir, if we hope to get this done by 5, I'm going to have to close from public comment. Thank you. Okay, we'll close from public comment. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners to Mr. Wiles? Commissioner Donahue?
No. My comments I'll reserve prior to the vote.
Commissioner Monzo?
Chairperson Meeks, I can stay a little bit longer if you want to hear the last two people. Yeah, no, you okay? Okay. No questions or comments.
Commissioner McKelvey-Day?
No questions.
Commissioner Purnell?
My question is, should this location not get approved, what are the options for Cannabis Cruise as it stands?
Could you please repeat the question?
If their relocation is not approved, like what are their options if the Abbott Street facility, my understanding is the landlord is asking them to leave, correct? Where can they go is my question if this is not approved?
If this is not approved, the CUP is not approved, the parking reduction is not approved, and the CCP, which is related, is going to be continued, could not be permitted. One of the reasons is because the parking reduction is required as part of the CUP.
Yeah, through the chair. The question was, if not approved at this location, where are other alternatives for this business?
They would have to go, I believe, with a dispensary. It's a retail use. And I think that they would have to look at a space that would be allowing for retail uses such as the commercial retail district, CR, maybe other commercial districts in the city. And they would have to comply with the cannabis section of the municipal code, which is section 5.
And how long can someone hold a cannabis permit without a physical location?
That's an interesting question. So I'm understanding that after, say, 90 days or something to that effect, the premises become not usable to the operator. That's what I heard. I'm not sure if that's exactly how this works, but let's just say they go out of business and they're no longer operating. I'm not sure what that answer is. We haven't had that come up. I have to look at the regulations and see where that leads. To provide clarity on the first question, however, there is a set of maps that show sensitive uses, and there are some other requirements for a relocation. It would basically be the same process all over again someplace else. Look out for schools, look out for residential, look out for the items that are presented in what Tom referred to as Chapter 5. It may or may not require a CUP depending on the location for the other, if there is another location.
Yeah, this space required a CUP because it required a parking reduction with primary.
Commissioner Donahue, you have a comment?
I do have a question. This correspondence from Walker and Reed, attorney at law. I mean, is this an accurate statement? No commercial cannabis business may operate within a residential area or district if, in the opinion of the chief of police or the community development director, it would ... tend to cause a public nuisance or a situation. Is that an accurate statement?
It is, Commissioner Donahue. That is taken directly from the Salinas Municipal Code.
So my question is, isn't it a little, it would be a policy call or essentially a change to just say you can go to a residential. The intent of the ordinance, as I read it, is primarily light industrial. Residential requires essentially a policy call. Am I interpreting that right?
I think that's correct, Commissioner. There are a number of sensitive uses that are outlined in the municipal code, and proximity or adjacency to residential uses is just one of those sensitive uses, and that's one of them that cannot be waived, as you noted, if, in the opinion of the chief of police, there are issues.
And so I chatted about this with my wife. I didn't violate the Brown Act when I did that. As you might imagine, she might have an opinion. She said, and the question is, regardless of what and I have, I mean, if I were running a business and was looking to develop a clientele, I'd be really envious of Canna Cruz and the fact you've got this type of community. So I really echo what, well, I'm going to echo, thank you for doing that, but later I'm going to echo Jeff Sherman a little more than you'd prefer. But she kind of compared it to, she couldn't possibly think of a student she had that she didn't like. But in the occasion that she did, even if she didn't like them, if they deserved an A, they got an A. So independent of what I happened to think, if this reads accurately, if the chief of police weighs in a certain manner, then that has to be considered.
Yes, but I want to remind the commission that we're not talking about the commercial cannabis permit this afternoon. We're talking about the conditional use permit.
Well, here's what I would say.
I know where you're going, but
no,
yeah.
and my comment is, in fairness to Canna Cruz and all parties concerned, this should have come forward in a package. Because to me, this is like playing basketball and you get fouled on the way going up to the basket. It's the continuation play. Because ultimately we all know this is a policy call. You can probably run the table of everybody supports cannabis, supports them, wants them to succeed, wants them to solve it. And my only real point is because it's a policy call, I don't happen to think, even though it may technically be within our jurisdiction to say up or down, because it's a policy call, I think that's more geared towards the intrinsic nature of the council. And so ultimately, I think this belongs in the hands of council. And if I were sitting on that dais, I'd want to see the package, and rather than separating it, because it also, in fairness to the applicant, this has gone on a long time. And I'm sure they're in a. Can we please call for the question? And if I were sitting on council, I'd want to see the package deal, because I think it may or may not be misleading to say, oh, you got the conditional use permit, now we're going to get you over here, though. I think the applicant deserves a little more closure one way or another. But I will weigh in and say that I don't, I just, so there are no surprises here. I like what they're doing. I appreciate every effort to try and get that done. But there's a couple of pitfalls in this that I just can't get over to an eye. However, I'm glad they can appeal that. And ultimately, that's where it belongs, in my mind, the policymakers, rather than this body. And people of goodwill may disagree with that, but that's just kind of how I see it. But at the moment, and I always feel this way, when you have a tough issue with a lot of different feelings, hang in there to the last possible minute and see if you can get a consensus. And I want to see I would want to see the police on board.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commissioners?
I have comments. Can I?
Yeah, sure.
Comments. Thank you for saying that, Commissioner Donahue, because I was kind of stuck in the other end where, if we approve this because it's needed to be approved by April 16th, it opens a possibility to either not having it or having it, but then it could be misleading, I think, to Canna Cruz, like you said, if it doesn't happen, right? So I think I'm not quite where you're at, the right end, but landing on the same thing, as in, you know, it's kind of a package deal. Like, you know, so I was surprised to hear that we weren't going to talk about the second one today, because there was like details that were missing, because I do think that they go hand in hand. And so just naming that, I'm kind of struggling with that as well, in terms of like trying to meet the deadline and having options open for discussion and possibilities, but having the challenge of not knowing if the permit itself will get approved or not. So I'll just add that to the comments.
And is there a reason we're only doing one piece of it?
Yes, Commissioner, there were some concerns with both the process and the completeness of the application. The Community Development Director and I reviewed that just yesterday, and we had some serious questions, which is why we chose not to bring that forward.
Okay, if there are no further questions from the commissioners,
I do have a question.
Commissioner Donahue?
When we call for the roll, will it be a simple up or down, or, okay, then I'd just like one more comment. The other example, I understand the school exceeds the 1,000-foot parameter. Proximity to a bar does not. That is another example of it's a policy call. It's not that I'm not sympathetic, and I completely understand. I mean, from a mitigation standpoint, I mean, I still remember when the mayor of Delray Oaks said, "Hey, you want to see my cannabis dispensary?" And he was a pretty conservative Army officer. And when you saw what they've done, and they've got a police substation on top, and I mean, they really created a community consensus. But again, I go back to, and I mean, it is hard not to be moved by, I think the second applicant and the story of the owners and their mom. But the problem I have is the deal says not within 1,000 feet. If the council wants to change that, that's their prerogative. I just believe that's where ultimately the package belongs. So that's my comment, and then I'll be ready to vote.
Okay, if there are no further comments, can I have a motion, please? We have to have a motion before we can do anything.
I'll motion to deny the conditional use permit.
Do we have a second? I'll second the motion. Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Donahue?
I want to make sure I'm saying aye to my motion. Yes, aye to deny, yeah.
Commissioner Monzo?
Aye.
Commissioner McKelvey-Day?
Aye.
Commissioner Ramos? Commissioner Purnell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Meeks?
I move to disapprove. So given a simple majority, yep. Okay, given a simple, we had the conditional use permit number 2022-048 to change the use from retail to a proposed two-tenant shopping center within existing 20,164 square foot building located at 1228 South Main Street in the Commercial Retail South Main Street Focused Growth Overlay District, CR-FG-3 zoning district, and allowing for at least a 41-space, 51% parking reduction per zoning code table 37-50.100, exemption from the requirements of zoning code section 37-50-2.200 to allow for internal waste storage to be located within the existing structure, and alternative means of compliance for landscaping is denied. The request for a conditional use permit, any person having standing to do so under the law who is aggrieved by this action or decision may file an appeal within 10 days with the Community Development Development Department located at 65 West Alisal Street. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other business?
It's just the rest of the agenda. No more public hearings.
Okay. Do we have any input from the steering committee? All right, not. Okay, follow-up reports?
None.
Future agenda items?
We do have one item scheduled for April 17, Planning Commission. It's a study session. The study session will look at the general plan, land use, and circulation elements.
Okay. Okay, next meeting is scheduled for April 17, 2024. Who will be able to attend?
I was just going to ask, so we don't have the special meeting that was on the, okay.
It's going to go to the city council. Once they make a decision, then we may or may not. Yeah, apparently not at this time. Okay, those available to attend on, oh, it's not the 17th now, it's whenever. Okay, on the 17th, those available to attend.
The next regular meeting.
Do we know when the whole, you know, the second part of this is going to be ready to roll? Okay.
Okay, since we've done that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.